Stress is basically nothing but negative chemicals.
Many of my patients who are very lean say, but I am very lean and my periods are okay. I don't have PCOS.
Endocrine science or skin science, it is very important to recognize that we solve problems.
And sleeping well along with being happy.
Because remember, if you are well and happy, then you will be disease free.
Welcome to Skin Science. I'm Dr. Rashmi Shetty. On Skin Science, we dive deep into the world of beauty to uncover the science beneath the surface. We'll explore connections between beauty and everything associated to it, with insights from experts from medical, wellness, and beauty fields. Join us as we go beyond the basics and reveal the true skin science. Today, we are going to explore the connection between endocrinology and dermatology. Like I keep saying always, skin is not just about skin. Skin is but just a indication of what's happening inside. And one of the biggest thing it gives us clue is to what's happening in your endocrine system. And who better with us for all of this, the master of it all, Dr. Shashank Joshi. I am more than thrilled, a little nervous, and super proud to today talk to him about endocrinology. He is not only known worldwide as the best in business, he's also one of the persons to get the International Clinician Award of the Year, Master of American College of Endocrine bestowed upon the only non-American so far, featured with our Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat, and a Padma Shri awardee. Welcome, Dr. Shashank Joshi. Let's talk a little and dive deep into everything. Each time you come to me with an acne, with a hair fall, with a pigmentation, with a skin irritation, whenever I tell my patients, let's do some blood work, let's figure out what's happening with your endocrine system, and let me see where I need to collaborate or take help from an endocrinologist. Most of them are wondering, why are we doing so many tests and why so many things? It's just a pigmentation. So today I'd love you to actually talk to us and tell us everything, maybe chronologically in a human being's life. Let's start off with menarche. So what actually happens when a girl first gets her menstrual cycle, or a boy becomes a man? What are those hormonal changes that one should be aware of?
So, Rashmi, I think it's important to recognize that we are all human beings.
Yeah.
And as we grow, we go through a process called pubertal process. And that is how the gender gets differentiated. So in the male gender, the testosterone starts clocking in. It gives you the voice, it gives you the height, and it also gives you a little bit of a mustache and the virilization and the hair and the masculinity and the muscle. So that's the testosterone world, as they say. So you graduate from a boy to a man. Similarly, the girls are a little more biologically superior sex, and they actually graduate through the estrogen and progesterones of the world through their pubertal process. And they have to ovulate because reproduction is an important function of human bodies. And in order to ovulate, we have to prepare the ovary for ovulation. And the preparatory hormone, which is also sometimes nicknamed the hormone of elixir or youth, is estrogen. It makes you glow, it makes you active, and it prepares the ovary for ovulation. And after ovulation occurs, then it is more of preservation and preserving that ovum. And that is the function of the progesterone. So when menarche occurs, it is basically endometrial shedding. And that is the period. And that is what happens. And this is the process of puberty. And unfortunately, we don't discuss reproductive hormones, the biology of sex in our schools, which has now become an integral part globally also, that we need to recognize that hormones are a part of our life. And because you're talking of skin science, hormones are actually, skin is a perfect mirror of hormones. And in women, when the girls become women, the graduation process involves a little bit of estrogen, a little bit of progesterone, and that is governed from a master gland, the queen of the hormonal orchestra, called the pituitary gland, which is just right up here.
Correct.
And some people call it Shiva's third eye also, which are traditionalist. And that really is the master controller. So that makes two hormones. FSH, which is the follicular stimulating hormone, which stimulates actually the ovaries to make estrogen.
Correct.
because it is stimulating to make the follicle. Follicle is the egg or the ovum. And then the second phase to preserve is called the LH, the luteinizing hormone, which basically then preserves that hormone so that the egg is formed and a biological birth can happen. So that is the function of the pituitary, which controls through FSH and LH, our estrogen and progesterone. And this works in a synchrony. It works like an orchestra and it works like a biological clock. And if any disruption occurs, either in our lifestyle or due to disease or due to sickness, then we get hormonal issues. And the first reflection of that is the skin. It could come up as acne, it could come up a little bit of a pimple, it could come up a little bit of pigmentation, it may come up a little bit of weight gain, irregular cycle, or maybe a little bit of hair follicles on the face. That is a reflection of a disordered hormonal system, which is why, Rashmi, you'll end up doing a couple of tests.
Correct.
And if they are abnormal, then sometimes you need to take help or sometimes you can manage it on your own.
Exactly. So to sum this, when you come to me with your teenage daughters and teenage sons with acne, and mostly acne on the forehead, acne on the sebaceous rich area, which is around the cheek, on the back, maybe on the middle of the chest, these are all places where there is sebaceous or oil gland present. Now, that is influenced by the hormones Dr. Joshi just now explained to us. So, all of these glands have receptors of hormones at the skin level, and therefore they respond to the hormonal stimuli. Likewise, the hair as well. The hair itself, the follicle of the hair itself, has receptors of all of these hormones. Now, I want to also ask you one more thing, asking you about how a lot of times when I say PCOS is not just about menstrual cycle not being regular, that might be one of the PCOS, which is the syndrome, but it could be many other things, especially for us as dermatologists. They present to us with acne, with excessive hair fall, with male pattern hair or the terminal hair that we call it on the face and male patterned growth. They also end up presenting with obesity, like you said, excessive weight, where it is difficult for them to lose weight. All of this comes in together and may or may not be also with period cycle irregularities. I want to ask you, in such case, what triggers PCOS?
So, PCOS is actually a heterogeneous condition and more than 100 conditions actually cause it. But the underlying cause of PCOS is, I call it in a simplified term, diabetes of the ovaries. Fundamentally, what happens is that our ovaries, which have two functions. One is to make estrogen to prepare the ovulation, and second is of course ovulation, and once ovulation occurs, to make the progesterone. But ovarian health, ovary gets energy from glucose, and for the glucose to enter every cell, we need insulin. And therefore there is insulin resistance of the ovaries or type 2 diabetes of the ovaries, and then you get PCOS. Why do you get this? It is all linked to our lifestyle. Okay, we eat too fast, we eat the wrong food, we eat too much of carbs and fats and too less of proteins, we don't eat on time, we skip meals, then we love to take and give stress. Then of course we don't sleep. And the biggest challenge which I feel, which is leading to a pandemic of PCOS today in modern women, is the digital intoxication. They are addicted to devices, whether it's their mobile phone or whether it is their computer or whether it is their video game or whether it is a television camera. So we are digitally intoxicated. So if you see from a lifestyle perspective, it is a sedentary habit. We have become sust and mast. Okay, we are eating all the wrong foods, the fried foods, the fast foods of the world, which are all being reflected as acne and all the skin issues which we see, because everything which you eat is reflected on your skin. So we need to ensure that you are actually causing diabetes of the ovaries, which is disordering your estrogen, progesterone, and instead of making the female hormone, the women start making up a little bit of the male hormone. Or even if the male hormone is normal, the skin becomes exquisitely sensitive. And then the skin makes its own testosterone.
Correct.
And that causes hair fall, and then they think they are getting bald. And then, these all things come, it's all linked to lifestyle. So I think we need to eat slowly. We need to eat on time. If you want to lose weight, you should have a large breakfast, moderate lunch, light dinner. If you want to gain weight, do the reverse. Okay. Then, we need to eat slowly. We need to eat on time. We need to avoid fried food, fast food, sweets and dry fruits, except almonds and walnuts maybe. And then we need to at least clock 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Even if you do 1,000 steps 10 times a day, build some muscle, do some yoga, do some meditation, that's great. But the younger generation doesn't feel yoga is fashionable. They feel it's for only the senior citizens like us. And therefore, it's important to recognize that we need to be physically active. And then we need to sleep for a good 7 hours. Don't sleep less than 5 hours. Don't sleep more than 10 hours. 7 hours is the optimal time of sleep. And if you're snoring, go to a doctor. So it's important to have sleep, physical activity, and diet. And beyond that, do a digital detox. Half an hour before going to sleep and half an hour after getting up from sleep, don't see your mobile phone or WhatsApp. Don't see any television camera or a screen. And beyond that, also de-addict yourself from tobacco, smoking, alcohol, or any other addiction you have. So it's very, very important to recognize. And this digital detox now, do you know what it is called? It is called dopamine fasting. We have heard of different types of fasting, right?
Yeah,
There's religious fasting,
yeah.
Then they have intermittent fasting, and this digital detox is called as dopamine fasting. So I tell all the Gen Z or the Gen Next or the modern young kids which are off the block who know much more than you and me through the social media, they need to do dopamine fasting or a digital detox for an hour every day. And that 50% of the problems, if they correct this, the hormones will resurrect to normalcy. Then, of course, they need people like you. Rarely they need people like me.
So, this, guys, coming straight from Dr. Shashank Joshi's mouth. What do you do for PCOS and why does it happen? How can you prevent it? Don't be sust and must. Do a digital detox, which is dopamine detox. And 3, don't give and take stress. So, 3 most important things. So we are now moving on to the next question, which is to say in PCOS, we have understood that there is a male hormone imbalance, there is a female hormone imbalance, which is usually testosterone, DHT, DHEAS is what we usually look at, right? And estrogen and progesterone. But I have seen in my practice a lot of times prolactin gives me trouble. It's the prolactin which gives me those very inflammatory acne, prolactin which leads to hair fall and skin which looks red and angry. So can you please explain to me what happens in PCOS and how is the relationship with prolactin?
Prolactin normally secreted by a girl when she is breastfeeding. It's a breast milk hormone. And if the prolactin is high, it is equal to stress. So as I said, our body stress hormone is prolactin.
That's exactly why the skin feels stressed and angry.
Correct. So it's nothing but a reflection of your hidden anger, hidden burden, hidden stress inside your neurochemistry of the brain. Because prolactin is made by the lactotrope of the pituitary gland. Lactation is lactotrope. So basically prolactin is a lactation hormone when mother is giving breast milk, and that if it is not high during normal phase, it is a cause of concern and you need to de-stress. But there are simple things which increase prolactin. For example, if you have a very tight undergarment, if you have intercourse on the previous night, that can increase. There are drugs, nausea drugs like domperidone, that can increase. Epilepsy or psychiatric drugs will increase prolactin. So if you are going to a shrink or if you are going to a specialist which is giving you some medication, they can also increase prolactin. Once that is ruled out, if the prolactin is persistently high, it only means that your pituitary gland is under stress, your mind is under stress, your hypothalamus is pumping out chemicals, which is the dopamine inhibiting hormone, which is stimulating the lactotrope to make the prolactin. And that prolactin then occasionally even can cause breast discharge. It's called as galactorrhea. And girls can get it. And then you can get a pituitary tumor in the brain. You need to do an MRI. But that is the extreme. And that is very treatable, mind you. You don't need to do a surgery. All you need to do is just take some medicines for some period of time under medical supervision. But main thing is de-stress yourself. Okay, you can do simple asanas. Yoga is great. Meditation is great. You can do your, whatever detoxification mechanisms or happiness mechanisms, they're equally important. So I think modern world, we have learned to generate unusual stress and we don't vocalize stress. So prolactin is a hormone which actually is talking to the person whose level is increased, ki, hey, you are abusing yourself, you are being burnt out. So sometimes I also call prolactin as a burnt out hormone. That means that person is completely burnt out. And then when it is burnt out, that prolactin goes up. But remember, whenever the prolactin is high, if normal causes are ruled out, then sometimes you need to, if it is very, very high, to see a specialist, get your eye checked, get an MRI done, and take treatment. It's a very treatable condition.
Correct. Prolactin in men.
Prolactin in men again can go up because of stress. You can get prolactinomas in men also, but that's rare and unusual. But we see it, it's not unusual. Stress can occur to anybody. See, remember, men and women have both men hormone and women hormone. So men also have estrogen, men also have prolactin. Similarly, women also have testosterone, women also have androgen. And when they are angry, you can see manifestations of both. For example, when there is hirsutism, which is excessive facial hair, it's an indirect reflection of exaggerated dihydrotestosterone, the skin testosterone. Or if there's excessive hair fall or balding, that is also a manifestation of excessive male hormone on the skin. And the skin testosterone is called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. So I think men and women both have each other's hormones, but they are under control in normalcy. But unfortunately, we are living in a stress bomb, and we are disordering the hormones very quick and fast. And most of it is correctable, if you ask me.
So when we start investigating for a PCOS, for example, we start off with some blood tests that we do routinely. And maybe if they go to a gynecologist, maybe they start with an ultrasound and then go to a hormone testing. We start off with a hormone testing. How do you as endocrines approach this? Is there any newer test which could be non-invasive and you could just find out?
So there is a new buzzword in the modern world called AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone.
Yes.
And people have started classifying as per AMH. AMH is an index whether your ovaries is working or not. And it's a fertility test.
Correct.
But that is classifying PCOS now. So if your AMH is low, don't think that you won't have a baby. But you need to get your ovulation right. And you need to see a reproductive endocrinologist, get your hormones resurrected, and so on and so forth. So that's one extra test we are having.
Correct.
You see, we get patients either from a fertility specialist or a gynecologist or from a cosmetologist. And there are three parts to the testing. One is to treat the underlying cause. So we test for glucose as well as insulin and cholesterol or lipids. That is the metabolic profile. Then we test for male and female hormonal profile. In the male profile, we see for dihydrotestosterone, which is skin testosterone, free testosterone, and total testosterone with androstenedione, which is the precursor. Then we test for adrenal gland like DHEA, cortisol, ACTH, and then finally we test for FSH, LH.
Correct.
So that is how we go across. And then of course E2 is estrogen, and very rarely we test for 17-hydroxyprogesterone. So these are the clutter of tests which we do. Not everybody needs everything. But most of the time, and the last thing which you must know beyond prolactin is thyroid. Thyroid is as high as diabetes. So the commonest condition we see today in an endocrine clinic is diabetes, followed by thyroid, followed actually by PCOS. And therefore, and all three are linked directly or indirectly. And it's very important to recognize that we do this clutter of tests. Sometimes these tests appear expensive, but now packages are available, so they're quite economical. But we know what is the underlying problem, and then we can correct it because most of these conditions are treatable. For example, if your thyroid gland TSH is high, you just give a simple tablet called thyroxine, and you can glow. Thyroxine actually causes glow, it causes weight loss, and you can actually be normal. So it's very important to recognize that screening is very important.
So, since we are just wanting to wind up this endocrine, hormonal endocrine or the PCOS that we are talking about, the main features start to kind of be addressed once the hormone is corrected from within. And from the outside, for example, if there's hirsutism that you mentioned, which is excessive hair on the male patterned hair, usually combines with hair fall because both are androgen driven. And so we either end up giving androgen lowering medicines. Along with that, from the top, we start doing laser hair removal and reduction. Rather, it's not removal anymore. It is just reduction. So we do a laser hair reduction. This is what we end up doing. Acne, again, with the endocrine support, we also do things from the outside. Now, I have seen a lot of patients coming and asking me, should I get my endocrines medication started, come to a stage where my tests become normal and then start hair reduction laser? Or can I start it together? Can I start the treatment with the endocrine and can I start the treatment at the dermatology clinic and go together with it. I usually tell them, start off with the endocrine. In a month or two, we can start with your laser hair reduction or whatever we are doing. Especially acne, I tell them we'll start together because we don't want those marks remaining back. But from an endocrinologist perspective, what do you tell us?
So I think you should do it together.
Yeah.
I don't agree that you should start it later because people come to us for cosmetic reasons.
Correct.
And they don't understand the value of endocrinology at all. I'm sorry to say that.
So
They
true.
either go to a fertility specialist because they want to make babies, or the cycles are not coming on time,
Yeah.
or they go to a cosmetologist because there is acne and
Skin.
hirsutism and all that. So, and that is socially and for the image side very important because self-esteem is very crucial. And for self-esteem, looking good is very important.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, cosmetic treatment is paramount. Cosmetic treatment is external and it is not endocrine driven. So I think we start cosmetic treatment simultaneously correcting the underlying cause.
Correct.
So I'm a conservative. See, we have British schools and American schools. I'm more from the British school, though I'm trained in the United States. The point is that I don't believe in just, if there's male hormone excess, give a
Just
contraceptive
suppose.
pill and shut off the hormones. I don't believe in that.
Correct.
I feel correct the underlying cause, give them a lifestyle talk, and if there's an underlying challenge with insulin resistance like acanthosis, give them some metformin or berberin or some natural remedies, and let the cosmetologist continue do their acne treatment or hirsutism treatment with a laser or with the acne medications and whatever it is required. And I think both can work in synchrony. It's important to correct that underlying insulin resistance.
Correct.
Now, the biggest problem is that the dangers long term of PCOS or insulin resistance from our side are seen after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years when they develop diabetes, heart disease, or cancers.
Wow.
But we don't want to scare people. We want the cosmetic part or the fertility part corrected and then impress upon them that correcting the underlying defect in terms of lifestyle correction is very crucial, in terms of giving me some insulin sensitizers is very important, and losing weight is equally important. See, we are thin fat Indians, Rashmi.
Yeah.
So in our small little thin
Frame.
body, we store more fat compared to our African American colleagues or our Caucasian white counterparts. We store more fat in our body because we evolved. Our ancestors had famines. So for the famines, we needed to store fuel. Fuel was fat. That fat was stored around our abdomen and our thighs. And whenever there was a sukha or famine, that fuel is to get burnt out. And then, so this is how it evolved. And that is why we are the world capital of diabetes. We are the world capital of obesity because we have extra fat stored in our body. So we are disadvantaged when we are born.
So ethnically, this is so beautiful. When I speak, I keep saying about how ethnically, even if you do a 10-step routine of a Korean routine, it's impossible to get a Korean skin because ethnically, our skin is a brown skin, does have a slightly patchy skin, a whole load of issues which a Korean skin may never have. Likewise, body-wise, ethnically, how beautiful this was explained that we do have a more fat storing tendency on a small, tiny framework.
That's correct.
So therefore, more towards PCOS, more towards diabetes, like you said. So just to take from where you were saying, it's very important. I'm so glad someone as legendary as Dr. Shashank Joshi is reiterating this, that an endocrinologist and a dermatologist work together, because I also heard him and know that whether it is PCOS or whether it is diabetes or obesity, it all stems from stress, right? We said it is stress. So the appearance adds on so much stress to the young individuals these days. So if you tell them, let's look at the appearance much later, but let's concentrate first on generally correcting your hormones, that just adds more stress to them. So I like to start treating them together and leads them to a much more happier space. Shashank, there are a few more common myths or rather common questions that I get asked because like you said, I'm in the front of the business of the body. So I get asked things first. Many of my patients who are very lean say, but I am very lean and my periods are okay. I don't have PCOS. And we will see clearly androgen excess signs on their face. Or like I said, prolactin excess signs on their face. Please tell me about lean PCOS.
So lean PCOS actually is more insulin resistant than actually the obese or the little overweight version. and the lean version actually needs the same treatment, like, because as I told you, we are thin fat Indians. So we have something called as sarcopenia. Sarcos is muscle. We have less muscle mass in our body. That is why we will never win Olympic medals in athletics, because we have less muscle mass. Our mitochondria are weaker. We research in this. This is my area of research. So because we are thin fat Indians and we are lean, the lean people are more insulin resistant, because we don't have functional mitochondria to really do the oxidative phosphorylation. And that's why it's very, very important to recognize that we are, even in the lean variant, have some extra fat. That is why our BMI cutoff is not 25, it is 23. And if you are really lean, your BMI has to be below 20. So that is important to recognize, that lean PCOS is as insulin resistant or more than even the obese version.
What's a very early sign of PCOS that I can tell my teenage audience here to be able to catch themselves to kind of go back rather than go all the way and go to a derm or go to a fertility specialist? What could be the earliest thing should ring a bell?
I think irregular cycles, acne, hirsutism, hair fall, and a little thickening
Thickness.
and darkness around your nape of the neck called acanthosis. These are the telltale synonicon of PCOS, and that's how we pick up PCOS clinically.
Perfect. Yeah.
But any unusual weight gain or any disruption of lifestyle, particularly during your crucial years, are actually the propellers of PCOS. So a 10th or a 12th grade is a typical propeller of PCOS, because that time, we unfortunately are doing double education. We go to school or college and we also take classes, and then we order from all these apps, and we eat all fast foods at the wrong time. We don't do physical activity, and because we are so focused on scholastic performance, we actually forget physical performance and mental health and endocrine health, and these are the big disruptors. So I see there are two lifestyle disruptors which are there in the Indian mindset. One is the 10th grade and second is the 12th grade, which are directly proportional to actually development of PCOS.
Yeah, so true. Now, the second question I want to ask you is, a lot of course, the patients keep roaming around, right? Doctor to doctor. When they come to me, sometimes they're all on oral contraceptive, because either someone has told them or some other doctor has told them, okay, you have signs of PCOS, early signs of PCOS, we'll put on oral contraceptive. Becomes so difficult for me then, because now they're on oral contraceptive. I can't even do tests. I don't even know whether the test will yield us any good result, because they are on a meter dose of a hormone. How do I impress upon, please tell from what you can enlighten us as to, oral contraceptive is not the blanket treatment. We need to figure out which hormone is acting up. So what's your take on why should they not be just popping an oral contraceptive?
So contraceptive pill is a very American way of doing things, shutting off your ovaries and giving it rest. And it's like killing an ant with a machine gun. Okay, so I think it has to be medically supervised. You should know when not to take a contraceptive. For example, if you have history of migraine, if you have family history of breast or endometrial cancer, if you get headaches, you can get pill-induced hypertension. You should be very cautious of the contraceptive hormones. Sometimes they are used, including myself, we use them sometimes with anti-androgens efficiently. If there is moderate to severe androgen excess. And they have to be medically supervised. But they are not shortcuts. They have to be given, but the underlying cause of insulin resistance has to be corrected.
Correct.
So this is just like a symptomatic treatment in severe cases and have to be done under medical supervision. Blood pressure checkup is very important. Okay, if you get headaches, which are very important, and maybe using them in short spells during severe episodes may be worthwhile.
Is it okay? There are a lot of people who say only take it for 3 months. How long should you take an OC
6 months
once
to
you
2
start?
years is reasonable. Beyond 2 years, you need to re-talk and rediscuss it with your gynecologist, endocrinologist or dermatologist.
Also, I want to know, is it possible for us to reverse a PCOS only with lifestyle change?
100%. You can, we do remission studies and we do use artificial intelligence to do remission studies. And if you have a personalized approach of when to eat, how to eat, what to eat, have a very prudent diet, do physical activity, do 7 hours of sleep, do some meditation, do some appropriate de-addiction, including digital detox, you can undergo PCOS remission. It's a very remittable condition. but it depends on the stage when you diagnose it, the type of skin health you have, the type of hormonal reproductive health you have. So if you already have irregular cycles set in, you already have a lot of acne or hirsutism set in, we can only correct the underlying problem. But whatever has already occurred on the skin will still need cosmetic or dermatological care from you. That cannot be reversed, but that can be remitted. And once it is in remission, we can ensure that it doesn't get further propagated. But I think remission of PCOS is very, very much possible, particularly if you catch them young and you hit hard, hit early. So I have a dictum that you should hit hard, hit early. You should be aggressive. You should emphasize that remission is doable and possible, but correcting the underlying problem is very crucial. And remember, every time it's not insulin resistance. Sometimes, very rarely, you can get diseases like Cushing syndrome or 17-hydroxy progesterone, which is high, that is congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Sometimes you can have underlying thyroid issue. Sometimes you can have underlying prolactin issue. Sometimes you can have underlying other diseases of the adrenal gland or of the ovaries or of the pituitary. So remember that there are some rare causes also. They need to be filtered and screened. And then only this is for garden variety PCOS, which is insulin resistance. But I think it's very, very doable. In the modern era, nothing is impossible.
Also, whenever I ask my patients lifestyle change, lose weight, all of this, mostly the PCOS and thyroid patients always like, push back and say, come on, but we have PCOS and thyroid issues. It's so difficult. We are dieting, we are working out, but weight doesn't seem to budge. So what's your tip for those people?
I think nothing is impossible. I think in the modern era, where there's a will, there's a way. And if there is no way, you can go to people, and most of us help them because we have very good medications also now. So lifestyle is possible. If you just skip a dinner, you can lose weight. You do intermittent fasting, you can lose weight. You can do meal replacement, you can lose weight. You can take some metformin and orlistat and you can lose weight. You can take these cutting edge agents called GLP-1, GIP agents and you can lose weight. So under medical supervision, you can easily lose weight. But if you just do a simple meal replacement or skip a meal, that's all you need to do, lose weight. And you follow simple mantras. Eat slowly, eat less, eat on time. The GLP-1 and GIP-1 is nothing but making you full. They are anti-craving. So if you just take a simple isabgol, dissolve it in a glass of water, drink it half an hour before lunch and dinner.
Makes you feel full anyways.
Makes you full, you will lose weight. You don't need to take those injections or tablets which make you feel pukey and need medical supervision, can be deleterious to health. So it's important that weight loss is in the mind. It's all about motivation. It's all about the zest and zeal and it's not about frustration.
True.
I think a mind coach or mind medicine is as important as supervision.
Yeah.
And I think what I see, people are frustrated. They go through yo-yo. They lose weight, then they
And they'll
regain.
put on.
Then they lose weight, and when they come to me, they're already frustrated. They are given up.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to tell them that it's never too late to start. And when you make an effort, you can always lose. And we have everything, including surgery, available for you.
True.
Okay, but the last resort is surgery.
Yeah.
And medications. If you ask me, the first resort is your own
Lifestyle
mindset
change.
and also believing in yourself. I think self-belief is important. I think many of them, I see that their image and their self-esteem is fractured.
Yeah.
I think fracture of the mind today in the modern youth is the biggest reason for disordered hormonal health, weight gain, type 2 diabetes and PCOS.
Yeah, I think with the stress, they just start eating and sedentary lifestyle, addiction to the phone, gadgets, all this, I think somewhere starts with, like you said, dysfunctional mind or probably stressed out mind. Not dysfunctional is a harsh word. I'm saying stressed out mind, maybe.
Fractured mind. I like
Fractured mind. Yeah. Oh, that's a nice concept. So when he was saying GLP-1 agonist, he was talking about semaglutide and liraglutides, the Ozempic, which is the newer thing. That's the marketed name. So these do just reduce your appetite. They also work on the frontal brain to understand the distinction between good food and bad food. It gives you a satiety center tap and says, hey, I'm happy, I'm full, don't eat more. Through various these modes, it makes you feel full, therefore eat less and can aid in weight loss. But because it is so popular and a quick fix, I want to ask him a little more on this one thing. So semaglutide, liraglutide, Ozempic, there's also Mounjaro now. all of these are the same, like you said, a GLP-1 agonist, GLP-2 agonist. I want to ask you, how about me taking a quick fix for a couple of months?
So they are not all the same. So GLP-1 is single agent.
Yeah.
Then the tirzepatide or Mounjaro is a dual agent,
Mounjaro is a dual
which
one.
is GLP-1 with
One and
GIP.
two. Yeah.
And now in the US and Europe, there is a triple agent called Decoded.
Ooh.
So the single agent in the US population causes 8% weight loss, a semaglutide. It's available
Correct.
orally.
Correct.
We also popularly call it ohamiglutide. But it's a great agent with good data. And in Indians, it's not 8%, maybe it's around 10-12%.
Oh.
Okay. Then in the
How?
tirzepatide,
Why?
because we are thin fat Indians, so we tend to lose weight at a lower dose and it's faster and quicker. The dual agent, which is tirzepatide, also has very robust data. It clears up the liver fat also, and that loses weight to around 15% or sometimes 20%, equal to a bariatric surgery. And the triple agent tirzepatide will actually cause 25+% weight loss. So that's huge. Now, whom should you give and whom you should not give? I think people who are having a family history of cancer, who have to go, every person goes through a mental health screen through a psychiatrist, okay, who have weak bones. We have to be very cautious in giving them.
Why mental health assessment?
Because you
Shashank?
see, whenever we cause drastic weight loss, we also lose muscle. And you tend to get negative thoughts. See, people who are overweight or people living with obesity always are depressed. And it's important to screen out underlying mental health issues.
Oh.
Otherwise, we don't want adverse consequences. That is number one. Number two, we should screen them for cancers.
Yes.
And number three, we should screen them for bone health because they are vulnerable to get fractures.
Correct.
See, suppose you do bariatric surgery, what are the side effects? There is a odds ratio that you may commit suicide afterwards, after bariatric surgery, and or you may break your bones. Those are the only two adverse events of long-term bariatric surgery. But otherwise, we have saved lives with bariatric surgery. People have gone off their blood pressure and sugar medicines, particularly for morbid obesity. I think it's a very good option.
Yes.
When somebody's BMI is above 50 or 60, it has been a life changer for them.
Correct.
But when you come to these agents are quick fix agents, but under medical supervision.
Yes.
And they are not available right now in India. Injectable ones are not available. Only oral semaglutide is available. And when they come, I think they are predominantly used for diabetes. And with diabetes, if you have comorbidities like obesity, etc., then they may be more useful. Because then we can get them off the blood pressure pills or the sugar pills. So remember, somebody just wanting to do a quick fix, I am not so certain I will give them as a first resort. People have anecdotally used it going on social media because you have the Kim Kardashians and the Elon Musk of the world who have gone ahead and done it. But I would be saying, go to your good old endocrinologist, get a medical clearance, and then only do it.
Yes. Is there a way that they could be resistant? Say I will lose the first 10-20 kgs. Then should I be increasing dose, decreasing dose under doctor supervision, or it may just stop working on me? Have you seen any such cases?
So there are always non-responders. Every drug will have 10 to 20% non-responders.
Correct.
That's number one. Number two, the biggest $1,000,000 question is when you stop, you will regain weight.
Yes.
So in weight loss, weight maintenance is as important. And that is why the role of exercise can never be there. You can't just say that I'm taking an injection and I can switch off appetite and I won't exercise. I can still do my sust and mastgiri. No. You need to preserve your muscle mass. And muscle health, mental health, bone health, and then your quick fix under medical supervision will get you weight loss. But weight maintenance is the crucial thing.
Yes.
And maintaining weight, I think exercise is important. Exercise, mind you, never makes you lose weight.
Yeah.
It is the diet and the medications which make you lose weight. Exercise is always there for weight maintenance.
So most people end up telling PCOS. In PCOS, I usually think if you do extremely high weights, picking up high weights, that also adds to the stress of the body at that moment. Do you believe in what kind of exercise should they pick up heavy weights? Should they add on a protein supplement, which again, I'm a little wary because a lot of proteins such as whey protein add to the inflammation. So what is your couple of things that you say? Exercise, do this, don't do this. And in terms of protein supplementation, what should they be doing?
First of all, protein should not be given by gym instructors. They don't know what they're talking. They either should a sports nutritionist or a doctor should advise it. That's number one. Because sometimes they can harm the kidney, mind you.
Yes.
Number two, exercise has to be a prescription under medical supervision.
Yeah.
So there are multiple types of exercises. Indians need to build muscle. So that is called as resistant exercises. Then, we need to do aerobic exercises. And there is an entity called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which means you should be fidgety. You should not be just sitting in one place like a saint or a yogic position.
That's why you and I never put on weight.
So NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is 2/3 of your weight loss comes from there. So you need aerobic activity, you need non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's why I say do a 5-minute brisk walk every hour. That is as powerful as going to a gym for 30 minutes.
Sorry, I'm going to emphasize this because this is so important, especially like you said, I'm loving that word sust and must. For sust and must youngins right now, it's so important that most of them go to the gym 1 hour, pick up some 100 kgs, deadlift, evo, come back, and then you're sust and must. So all you have to do is 5 minutes of walk, do your own chores at home, run around a little, and that might actually burn a lot more calories, make you lose a lot more weight. Can it also help in build the muscle?
No.
No.
For that, you need resistant exercise.
For that, you need exercise. So, Shashank, is yoga enough? People say that's not enough.
So, yoga has multiple components.
It's yoga, Shashank.
Yoga, A silent. Okay.
I'm a South Indian. Come on. When did the silence happen?
It's always silent.
Really?
Yeah. So, yoga, actually, you should understand the first component of yoga is kriyas, which are cleaning processes like dhauti,
that vomiting and all they do.
Yeah. So, that is the processes, kriyas. Second is asanas. Asanas are postural exercises. Third is called as breathing exercises called pranayama. And then of course you have dhyana, which is meditation. So there are 9 components of yoga. So from that, people think that, only the asanas means yoga. The Gen Z and the modern generation thinks that, and they don't feel it very tacky. The universal yogasana is Surya Namaskar. Surya Namaskar has all the postures, the poses, as well as the muscle strengthening exercises. And for the thin fat, abdominally fat Indians, it is Kapalbhati. So Kapalbhati and Surya Namaskar are 2 universal exercises, again to be done under medical supervision, because you need to be cardiovascularly fit and you don't need to have a hernia. Otherwise, what happens is, Dr. Rashmi, I saw some of your patients, and then they will suddenly go and then their hernia will get aggravated. So it's important that a medical doctor or some doctor clears you for yoga. Yoga is unfortunately a very slow acting mechanism. It's a way of life. So what happens is yoga starts working only after 9 months and its peak effect is seen after 2 years. And today's generation wants results yesterday.
Tomorrow morning, yeah.
Yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
So they want, by the time they have left your clinic, okay, from your
So
clinic
true.
here, from Santa Cruz to Bandra, my clinic, Rashmi, they want results overnight and they feel that you fix up their face and I'll fix up their hormones and then they are good to go to party in South Bombay. So that is how people think. But yoga is very slow and slow acting.
Yeah.
That is why, but it is permanent. It is permanent. So I think yoga should be a way of life. It's useful to do in people under supervision, but remember it has its own drawbacks. So muscle strengthening is equally important. Keeping yourself aerobically fit is equally important, and having a little bit of fidgetiness is equally important. But yoga has advantage on mindfulness, on controlling your mind, on de-stressing mechanisms, on anxiety relief. There it is very positive. So I think you need to mix and match.
Yeah.
See, every human being is different. And every human being today needs personalized care.
Yeah.
So it has to be a care for Rashmi or Shashank or Upasna. It has to be a care for that particular person given. You cannot just say this is a generic prescription.
Yeah.
We are talking on the show and this is what can be done for everybody. No.
Yeah.
You need to individualize that person, spend some time and then devise a exercise regimen, a diet regimen for that person, sleep regimen, a detox regimen, and then give a personalized or a customized solution.
So now that we're talking so much about stress, please tell me about stress and how it impacts the hormones.
See, stress is basically nothing but negative chemicals. And it is linked to a system in our body called inflammation.
Correct.
Or anger. And we generate chemicals which are called cytokines. They are all these negative chemicals like the interleukins of the world, the interferons of the world, and they actually go and generate inflammation which damage tissues of our body.
Yes.
The small little cells of our body get damaged, organs get damaged, and you get diseases.
Yes.
So actually that is why we need to de-stress ourselves. And therefore it's important. Stress can be of different types. You could have mental stress, you could have physical stress, or you could have both. And unfortunately, we land up with both. So it's important to recognize that in stress, it is not just mental stress when we talk of stress. It is mental and physical stress both. And offloading ourselves from the stress by either dietary measures or physical activity measures or sleep or even supplements sometimes. They can be very de-stressing. And some of our old herbal ingredients or our natural foods. In our Ayurveda, it is said there are sattvic foods, tamasic food, and rajasic foods. So, rajasic are the rich foods, so all these Raja Maharajas used to eat. And then, of course, tamasic are the angry food, the savories, the spices, and all that. And then, of course, you have the sattvic food,
Nothing.
which is actually not the bland foods. People have this the sattvic food is actually healthy food. It can be tasty and healthy too, and it could have small little spices, small little tadkas, small little herbs which can actually rejuvenate you. They actually can be the elixirs of youth. So remember, sattvic food with some sattvic exercise, with some positivity is equally important. See, outcomes when we study in modern biology or health is not just health outcomes, it's also happiness outcomes. There's no point for me to give 20 pills, give a diet prescription, and the person there is anxious.
Yeah.
I will never get good outcomes.
True.
Unless and until we change the happiness quotient of that individual and put that person at ease, you will continue generating negativity.
Yeah.
So I think, as I said, there are ways of looking at it. Rashmi, when I see people from your clinic which come, I see that you are not a person who tells them that you have a problem. You tell them that this is a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
So we should be solution providers and not problem creators.
True.
That's the way to look at it. And in endocrinology or skin health or endocrine science or skin science, it is very important to recognize that we solve problems and address issues in a very positive way, rather than saying that we are overburdened and you have PCOD, you have prolactin, you have this, you have that, you have brain tumor. They get psyched.
Yeah.
And then they go on that poor Google WhatsApp University and they get further psyched.
Yeah.
So first thing you tell them is there is nothing to worry.
Nothing to worry. Yeah.
Everything is manageable. And give them that hope, but tell them that you need to get a discipline on board and you need to do a couple of things to put your house in order, and you are going to be just like a normal person.
What does cortisol do to the skin and hair?
Cortisol actually is a hormone which we need every day to fight small little things or adversities. So when you suddenly get a jerk, or you are about to fall, it's your cortisol which will activate your muscles, which will help you. So it's actually a protective hormone. But what happens is when it gets overprotected, it hurts you. So what's happening is when you burn yourself out, the cortisol creates negative energy and it creates a negative nitrogen balance and then makes you crave more food, eat more, put on weight, and then it starts a negative circuitry in our body. So our neurochemistry and our entire body's endocrine chemistry gets distracted. And rarely, of course, we get diseases of excess cortisol, either because we are giving cortisol from outside or we are making it from inside, which is Cushing's. But that's rare.
That's rare.
But it's important to recognize that our day to day, see, we have to go, what is yoga doing? Yoga is making us parasympathetic.
Yes.
And we are sympathetic. Sympathetic is all about cortisol and catecholamines and adrenaline and noradrenaline and all that. So it's very, very important to recognize that calming down is a way of life. We are too much in a hurry. And this hurry, worry kills. So don't worry, don't hurry. And if you want to calm down, it is taming your cortisol.
Correct.
And I think cortisol taming is very important. And for that, I think, way of life changing is very important. Conversations and giving hope
Hmm.
and engaging people is equally important in healing as
True.
much as giving medications or supplements or yoga or diet.
Yeah, so true. So basically, cortisol is what is secreted when you're in stress. But if you keep getting stressed throughout the day, little bit of cortisol keeps secreting, and that becomes excessive cortisol, which, like Shashank rightly said, is going to accumulate, make you put on more weight. That can end up causing metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, maybe leading to PCOS. All of this ends up causing then acne, hair fall, irritated skin, angry skin, and pigmentation in the body folds. All of this will happen. So most importantly, you need to understand stress leads to a whole load of things, and couple of easy things to actually reduce stress, like Dr. Shashank said, is physical exercise, because that leads to some happy hormones, eating the right food at the right time, and sleeping well along with being happy. Now, just coming to sleeping well, how important is sleep? And when I say sleep, but I sleep 6 hours. When do you go to sleep? 2 a.m. in the morning, I sleep, and 2 a.m. in the afternoon, I get up. I'm like, no, you need to sleep at a certain hour, have a restful sleep, wake up at a certain hour. So, please, from the horse's mouth.
So we run the Indian Society of Chronomedicine, and Rashmi, I invite you to join the society. Chronomedicine is a society of biological clock. So our biological clock, I appreciate that you sleep at 10 o'clock and get up at 5 o'clock, which is the biological clock of the human body. If you disrupt that clock, you will get clock disruption, and then the right amount of hormones won't be secreted. So duration of sleep should be not less than 5 hours, not more than 10 hours. 7 hours is optimal. You should not snore at all, and preferably sleep on time. Preferably sleep at the same time every day. Plus or minus half an hour is okay. But I think that is how it is. And if you then disrupt your clock metabolism, then you need to sometimes, like people who are healthcare workers or people who are airline pilots or who are in shift jobs, then we have to give them supplements to resurrect their biological clock. Because when the biological clocks get disrupted, you get accidents. They can be accidents of human body which cause diseases, or they actually can cause accidents on the road. So, a lot of accidents occur in the morning from 4 to 6 a.m. because of the clock disruption. So, I think biological clock is very important. Sleeping on time, eating on time, sleeping adequately, sleeping sufficiently without snoring is equally important. And healthy sleep is very crucial. So, doing a sleep study is very important, because if you do a sleep study, sometimes you have to put a CPAP. And that CPAP actually can be a game changer. Your blood pressure can come to normal, your PCOS can get cured. There's nothing wrong. And don't be ashamed of talking about sleep health to your doctor.
Yeah. So, assistance of sleep through a supplement is also a wise thing to do
Absolutely.
for some time for them to get
Absolutely.
back into their
And most
circadian rhythm.
supplements, Rashmi, you should know, uh, are not sleeping pills. You have a lot of indigenous herbs which actually can, uh, you know, uh, they can make you sleep well. They have tryptophan, which makes melatonin, and they have a lot of these indigenous herbs which actually can help you. A
So, have you
little bit of
seen our rest well?
magnesium and many others. So, as I said, that many of them actually can give you good quality of sleep. So, for me, the formula is very simple. I first tell them to have a pinch of nutmeg.
Hmm.
If it doesn't put you to sleep, take a little bit of magnesium. If it doesn't put you to sleep, take a little bit of melatonin. If it doesn't put you to sleep, then maybe take the formula you are giving. And any of that is
Rest
okay.
well.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then after that, you can look at undergoing a medication. So I think sleep hygiene
Is very
and
important.
do's and don'ts of sleep are equally important. Light of the night in your bedroom is equally important. They say red light is the best light or no light is the best light.
So basically, circadian rhythm is super important for us, not just about eating, sleeping on time. The eating and sleeping of time is also going to discipline your hormones to release at a certain time, therefore, the whole function of the body. Now, one last thing that I also want to discuss with you is adrenal insufficiency and adrenal fatigue. A lot of them seem to be going through that. In short, can we just tell our viewers what that is?
So there is nothing like adrenal fatigue. Adrenal insufficiency is a life-saving condition. You need to do a stimulated ACTH and cortisol test under ACTH injection, and a proper endocrinologist needs to supervise it. And then you have to take steroids for life, and it's a life-saving condition. So it's important to recognize that adrenal insufficiency is a documented condition. And there is nothing like adrenal fatigue which you read on social media.
Yeah, they keep coming and saying,
So there
but
is
my
nothing
doctor
like that.
told me I have adrenal fatigue.
No. So I think there is nothing like adrenal fatigue at all. And there is only adrenal insufficiency which a proper endocrinologist should see. And if you have documented adrenal insufficiency, which could be primary or secondary, that means a disorder of the adrenal gland or disorder of the pituitary gland, then you need to take steroid for life, and steroid is life-saving.
Correct.
This term fatigue is to be abandoned, and we as endocrinologists condemn such terms because they are not correct terms.
How does thyroid affect the skin? One, we know that it causes very much of dryness of skin, hair fall, breakage of hair. Skin can, in the extreme conditions, even kind of skin thickness, which is not a very healthy looking skin. Why is thyroid so rampant today? And how can I do something in my lifestyle change to prevent or regulate my thyroid?
Thyroid is our body's energizer. Like our mobile phone needs a battery. And if your mobile phone is on low bat, you get anxiety. I know people who come to my clinic from your clinic, and they get anxiety because there is no charger in the clinic. Okay, like that, our every body cell needs charging. And body charger or charging hormone or energizing hormone is thyroid hormone. So if thyroid hormone is left, you will feel tired, drained out, fatigued, you will put on weight, you will have dry skin, you will have hair fall, and you will have facial swelling. That is hypothyroidism. And if your thyroid gland is overactive, you will be anxious, angry, irritable, you will pump a lot of hormones, your heart's beat will fast, your hands will tremor. That is called as hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease. And the trigger is autoimmunity, which means self-destruction. Bel mujhe maar. Okay, so you make antibodies which are supposed to destroy a virus or a bacteria, and by mistake they identify thyroid gland as an enemy and they go and shoot it out. So you can have stimulating antibodies, they will stimulate and make too much of the hormone, so your body cells will get overcharged and mobile battery will get overcharged and you will get electric shocks, or it will get undercharged and your mobile battery will be drained out.
So, a lot of times it's nutritional deficiencies that can also nudge or trigger a hormonal imbalance, right? I've seen prolactin high in a lot of people with vitamin D deficiency. So, like that, maybe there is a lot of link, or maybe this is just coincidental that I saw. Is there a lot of link that nutritional deficiencies may trigger and lead to maybe hormonal imbalances?
So, Rashmi, we live in a paradox of nutrition. We eat too much carbs and fats and too little proteins from a macronutrient perspective.
Okay.
But from a micronutrient perspective, we definitely in the vegetarian crowd have B12 deficiency.
Correct.
And universally we have D deficiency. And we tend to attribute a lot of things to vitamin D deficiency. At a cellular level they are true, but at a musculoskeletal level, yes, D does matter. So I think whether it is D, whether it is B12 or various other nutritional deficiencies, they have an impact on skin health for sure.
Yes.
And indirectly hormonal health. But the impact is not direct. Now, the macronutrient components will cause diseases like obesity and diabetes. The micronutrients will actually impact small cells and organs. And they will cause disruptions. For example, iodine is important for thyroid. It gets trapped. And then you can get a goiter sometimes, for example, a swelling of the thyroid gland. So I think nutrition is important. We live in a country of nutritional paradoxes. We need to screen the entire nutritional profile and correct it in people who are deficient. So if somebody's D is deficient, B12 is deficient, definitely needs correction. Whether everybody needs universal correction, we don't know. But remember, abroad, the milk and milk products are fortified with vitamin D. In India, they are not. That is why our Ds are low and therefore our bones are weak. So whether it is bone health, whether it is muscle health, whether it is skin health, having the right nutrients at the right place is very important. And particularly in the branch you are in, which is skin science, I think nutrition And the trace elements, ultra trace elements, and micronutrients are exquisitely important for the sweat gland, for the hair follicle, as well as for the integument and the skin, whether dermis or epidermis, both. And I think for the skin covering, I think it's very crucial. Also remember that there are hormones which are important for other things like circulation. Nutrition is important for blood circulation. People like to have the glow. For example, oxytocin is the hormone of love, but is the glow hormone. But similarly, lot of nutritional substances can cause a glow. And the most popular one is glutathione. Okay, but actually there's a lot of science behind all this, and therefore it's important to tap the science, use and understand it, and identify it. But I think documenting nutritional deficiencies and correcting them under medical supervision is very important.
So true. This is exactly why when, a lot of dermatologists have their own line of skincare, I decided to have a line of supplements because I saw the importance of micronutrients and how much of a significance they play, whether in reducing inflammation, in reducing oxidative stress, or plugging in those micronutrients that we really require. And hence came up Soul Skin and Ra range of supplement products that we have.
Congratulations for that. So I think you are trying to take science to the next gen, and it's important to integrate that science for healthy living and in the wellness space. Because remember, if you are well and happy, then you will be disease free.
True. And now skin is identified as an endocrine organ itself. There's a lot of newer studies, papers. Any last word for us to conclude?
So I think skin is a mirror of health. Gives you not only the psychological boost, but also tells your inner health and inner peace. And I think if you want to have inner health and inner peace, having good skin health under good supervision is the key to good health. So I think it's very important to recognize that. But as I said, I'm a lifestyle person. And for good skin health, you need to appropriate a lifestyle. So don't forget lifestyle.
Thank you so much, Shashank. I know you have a killer schedule. You also are a globetrotter. You speak around the world. You are on a whole load of panels. It was so kind and sweet of you to say, yes, Rashmi, coming. And you were here and you spent so much time with us. Grateful.
Thank you.